silly season is back in action, folks, as we have some word on a certain Dutch driver and his position with a Red Bull team. We have more news from the Williams team and their team boss on what will happen to Nicholas Latifi's now vacant spot for 2023. And Guenther Steiner gives a bit of a heads up as to what to expect heading into 2023 for their driver lineup. Let's get right into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Formula One Digest. I'm your host, Tyson Silva, and I'm reacting to some silly season new, folks, and it is very much alive and ramping. And of course, after Monza, a certain Dutch driver made headlines, but it wasn't Max Verstappen. It was Nyck DeVries, who was amazing in his first F1 race, to say the least, finishing, I believe, in P8 or P9 and getting points in his debut. And he is one of the most recent drivers in Williams history to get points in such a quick amount of time. Second, of course, being Alex Albon, who I believe did it in 3 or 4 races. This is really exciting for Nyck DeVries, and of course, this made him a hot commodity in the F1 world, and it seems as though teams are recognizing his potential and his talent, as it looks as though AlphaTauri is very close to having a done deal with the Dutch driver. Of course, Nyck DeVries has won in F2 and in Formula E, so he is a very experienced driver, to say the least. Of course, he's also done practice sessions with Mercedes and other teams throughout the season. So it's really exciting at the prospect of him finally getting a seat on the F1 grid. And it looks as though he may be getting closer and closer to a deal, as Helmut Marko believes that something will be decided by the end of this weekend's race in Japan. And I do have a quote here, and the quote is that there are talks, and we hope to have a clear situation by next weekend. I assume that should be decided by Suzuka, but only then can we say what's the deal. So there's nothing truly concrete there, but it looks as though AlphaTauri is the closest team to signing Nyck DeVries. Of course, they are looking to get a new driver and give Pierre Gasly an out so that he can go to Alpine. We've talked about this in previous videos. Of course, the number one choice for AlphaTauri was to get Colton Herta, who is an IndyCar star, but due to his lack of a super license and his inability to get an exemption from the FIA, DeVries became almost an instant contender following his F1 debut. Now, of course, Nyck has also been connected to Williams, who he got the points with, and it is safe to say that Williams does have a lot to think about, as you know, they've let go of Nicholas Latifi and they've signed Alex Albon for the foreseeable future. So they are going to need another guy to stand alongside with him, and Nyck DeVries was rumored to be that guy, but it seems like those rumors have cooled off and there isn't as much that is concrete, and I don't really blame Nyck DeVries for wanting to maybe go to a team that's probably going to be better than Williams next year in AlphaTauri, if this is all, of course, meant to be. So we do have a report that the Williams team boss, Jos Capito, has confirmed that there won't be a decision on the Williams seat that is available until after the F1 season. Some names that have been thrown around in regards to this vacant seat have been Nyck DeVries and Logan Sargent, but also Mick Schumacher, who is looking to part ways from Haas Ferrari after severing his ties with the Ferrari Driver Academy. So there's a lot to kind of dissect here. Of course, this means that Williams doesn't really know. I think that they're playing a bit of a waiting game as they wait to see what DeVries does. And I think that they're also waiting to see what happens with the Alpine seat, because Alpine has also been rumored to not only be in on Pierre Gasly, but also Mick Schumacher, as Esteban Ocon has been vying for his friend to be signed with the team. So it's a very complex situation for Williams, because they don't know really who will be available until the other two top teams have made their signings. In my opinion, the most logical choice, if Nyck DeVries goes, is to chase Mick Schumacher as hard as you can. But of course, if Mick does end up going to Alpine, that would mean that Nyck DeVries is available. So really, it really just depends. But in my opinion, I think they are most likely going to have to sign a driver that is not on their radar right now. Perhaps maybe a Daniel Ricciardo. Logan Sargent's also a young name that's been thrown out there, and I think that he's definitely qualified for the job. So it's really just going to be a matter of what happens with AlphaTauri, and I think that's where the stalemate is, because until AlphaTauri gets their guy, they're not going to do anything with Pierre Gasly. Of course, we're talking about Mick Schumacher, and Mick Schumacher himself is right now, and I mentioned this in the last video, he is fighting for his F1 career right now. He does not have a contract for next season, and it looks as though he does not want to be with Haas Ferrari next season. Of course, if he has to, I'm sure that he will sign, and I'm sure that Haas would be happy to have him because he's been with the team for 2 seasons now. But when it looked like Mick was for sure going to be gone by the end of this season, it was reported that Nico Hulkenberg was going to 100%. It was a guaranteed saying that he was going to be in that Haas seat alongside Kevin Magnussen. Guenther Steiner has said that it is not going to be a done deal for 2023, and that they are going to be and that they will announce something when there's something to announce. And they're looking at a bunch of drivers because they see that they do have a lot of options for people who could get that seat. It's been rumored that Daniel Ricciardo could also go there, but I feel like Daniel's also squashed a lot of those rumors by saying that he wants to drive for a contender, and going to Williams or a Haas is not going to do that, at least not in the short term. Being 33 or 32, he does not have that much time left in F1 unless he decides to drive for another 10 years. So we'll definitely keep following what happens with Haas. Personally, I think that Mick Schumacher is going to leave the team. I think he wants a fresh start somewhere else, and I could really see a familiar name in Antonio Giovinazzi joining Haas, because he does have an association with Ferrari. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with the Haas team, because they've been very up and down for a majority of the season. And I'm sure they're going to be looking for more consistency as we head into next year's season, and hopefully get some more points, because they're still chasing, because it's still quite tight between them and a couple teams in the Drivers' Championship. So we're going to be continuing to follow all of this and more. But if you guys have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate all the support. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends and family. We appreciate all the support. And we will see you guys in the next video.